Hello, race fans, and welcome to this newest episode of Getting Up to Speed. We are going to be shifting gears a little bit because for the first time ever, we're going to have a strictly non-wing sprint car racer on the phone, and it is Chad Lindsey out of Wilsonville, who is coming off of winning the Hurst Precision Parts non-wing nationals at the Douglas County Dirt Track in Roseburg, Oregon. That is going to be coming up after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. This broadcast is brought to you by Meat Freaks Jerky Club. Get the best jerky the world has to offer straight to your door by visiting meatfreaksjerkyclub.com. Pick your box and plan, tell them where to ship, and receive and enjoy. Log on to meatfreaksjerky.com and use promo code SPEED. Well, he's the newly minted Hurst Precision Parts non-wing nationals champion, earning that title at the Douglas County Dirt Track last weekend. Chad Lindsey from Wilsonville on the phone. And Chad, first of all, congratulations on the big accolade that you accomplished at Roseburg a couple days ago.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, it was for our team.
Well, for you, you've had a limited run this year so far with only 8 starts in 2023, but 7 top 10s and most impressively 7 top 5s. 5 podium finishes, including this last weekend in which you finished 3rd both nights. Yeah,
it's I've had some pretty good results this season. Got started a little bit late in the year just due to being away from home for work, but I've gotten right back into it pretty quickly. Felt pretty good all year long. I've just been chasing my first race win. I've been kind of right there in and around the winner's circle, but just can't seem to jump in quite yet. So that's kind of what we're hoping for in the back half of the season.
You have went to some places where you've went before in your career. How much of a learning curve was it with Roseburg and the Douglas County Dirt Track?
Yeah, it definitely was an interesting jump. I started racing here only a few years ago, and just jumping into the car and learning the car, and then going to all these different tracks throughout the Northwest and down to California as well. Just kind of figured out how to pick up tracks pretty quickly. I feel like that's definitely something that I try to pride myself on, is being as adaptable as possible. But it definitely that track really fit my driving style. I felt pretty comfortable on it right away, which was nice. That definitely doesn't always happen. So I really definitely enjoyed my time there, and I'm looking forward to going back again.
Well, Saturday night especially, hard charger, no doubt, an 18-3 run, a plus 15 as far as pass is concerned. And what a race was, a little bit stopping, lots of reds for the finale of the Hurst Precision Parts non-wing nationals, but you were able to find a way, and those restarts really seemed to benefit you.
Yeah, I seemed to do pretty good in the restarts, and it was nice because, obviously going up 15 spots and knowing I'm starting in the back and needing to move up, it's tough to do that if we go green to checkered and that spreads out. So as unfortunate as all those reds were, they definitely did play to my advantage. Some long reds, unfortunately. I think I fell asleep 3 different times throughout the race in the car, just sitting in there trying to relax. But all the rest, it definitely ended up pretty well for me.
Yeah, some unfortunate bad luck, some misfortune falling on some drivers. Jamie Barnes, who was the high point driver entering, he got upside down. Your dad got caught up in a wreck, and it sidelined him. And Kenzer Cox was moving forward and had a really good run going, and then spun, had to go to the back and was headed forward, and then he got caught up in a wreck, and he got upside down. So of all the top 4 drivers in overall points, because that's how the title was determined for the Hurst Precision Parts non-wing nationals, you managed to just kind of keep your nose clean and make the key passes at crucial moments. Yeah, no,
there's definitely a little bit of luck that plays into it when you run a track like that and you do a full invert like that. It's tough. You've got the fast guys in the back, and you're coming as fast as you possibly can. Obviously, knowing those guys are around me and their goal is to get in front too, I knew I had to try to stay in front of them. And you're being as aggressive as possible, but obviously still trying to conserve equipment and you don't want to get into it with anybody else, and you want to, keep your nose clean all the way to the front. But sometimes it's just wrong place, wrong time. And for a lot of those drivers that night, it was just a lot of wrong place, wrong time. So definitely a little bit of luck played into me making it up there with my nose clean too.
Most definitely. And you talked just a little bit before about a late coming into 2023 for racing, because over the off season you had a pretty big career change.
Yeah, so I went through flight school here a couple of years ago. I got my commercial pilot's license, and been really just flying around as much as I can. Big thing with being a pilot is just the amount of hours that you have kind of determines the jobs that you can work. Currently don't have quite enough jobs to make it into the airlines or work with any sort of bigger planes quite yet. I'm hoping in about a year that's where I'll be. But I was working an aerial survey job this past winter that ended June 15th, and that's when I was able to come back and get back in the swing of things with racing.
Well, that's really cool. So you just take an aircraft and do aerial imaging, I guess. You got a cameraman with you or a device that takes pictures?
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a Cessna 172 that they gave me. I pretty much just go from project to project, just living out of my suitcase, living out of a Cessna pretty much. And the back of the plane has 6 cameras equipped in it with a computer system that controls all of them. So the nice thing is I don't have to worry about the photos being taken.
Yeah.
They just basically tell me where to go fly and what direction to do it. And I'm up there for 5 to 8 hours a day, just kind of going back and forth over certain areas and taking photos.
That's super awesome. So kind of like Google Maps when the car comes down the street.
It's pretty much that, but the aerial version of it. Yep.
Nice. And so the hopes of the future is to become an airline pilot then. Yeah.
So airlines is definitely up there. Private jets are definitely in the mix as well. I've got a friend who flies those, who really enjoys that and is possibly going to be able to put my name in to the mix for hiring this next year. So hope maybe something on that end. I saw Hendricks was hiring for his jet. So if Hendricks happens to listen in, give me a call. I'd be happy to fly your jet for you. Really just looking into getting into something bigger, something that actually starts paying me a little bit of money, and that way I can start putting a little bit more money towards the sprint car program and keep it going.
That's something that I would like to achieve at one point in my life. I think you and I had a brief discussion about it, of a desire to fly. My grandfather was in World War II in what was called the Army Air Corps at the time in India and China. And just I see these videos and it just seems so peaceful and tranquil. It's just you and, the hum of your engine and basically looking down at the landscape. It very, very peaceful setting.
It is. It's beautiful up there, and especially up here in the Northwest. I mean, they sent me all over the Midwest through Oklahoma, Kansas, and then my way over even into Colorado and Idaho. But there's nothing like flying around here in the Northwest. So yeah, if you ever get the opportunity to, highly recommend going up, taking some flight lessons. It's breathtaking.
Yes, I know. One of my favorite games was playing Warbirds back in middle school. That kind of.
Oh yeah.
And the British Spitfire was my weapon of choice because it's speed. So hopefully my flight instructor is able to not to drill it in me to not go into fighter pilot mode.
It's a natural reaction when you get into a plane to want to do that. But yeah, they'll usually yell at you a little bit, make sure you're not. I try to do the same thing.
Well, and similarities in a way, jet fighter pilots or plane pilots, a lot of similar kind of things to a sprint car driver, especially a non-wing sprint car driver, with kind of how you got to control the animal. Or am I wrong in that theory?
Yeah, funny enough, I actually got asked this in a job interview. They were asking me if they thought, because they had asked what I do for fun, and I told them I was a sprint car driver, and they knew what that was, surprisingly, which was awesome.
That's good.
Them being up in Alaska, which was cool, and they asked me if they thought that being a driver made me a better pilot, and I definitely think it does. It does relate. Just driving a wingless sprint car, you're doing a lot of steering with your feet. The pedals are really what get you around the corner, and you're just kind of holding on with your hands. So it's similar to a plane where you've got your yoke that you're using for for your directional control, but your rudders are playing just as much of an impact to keep the plane coordinated and coming in to land, especially. So just being used to using my feet and my hands together, kind of make it do what I want to do on both sides, both for sprint cars and for planes. I definitely felt like that was kind of a natural transition because I did start racing before I started flying. So moving into flight training, it definitely, I think, made it a little bit easier than maybe for other people.
Nice. And of all the places that you said you went to various different places, any particular spots, like a certain airport or just a certain scenery outside of the Pacific Northwest that you just fell in love with or really like going when it's a return visit?
Yeah, that's a great question. Surprisingly, I'd never been out to Tulsa, Oklahoma before. That's where they sent me. Okay. Not just the flying and the scenery is all too beautiful, but fell in love with the city. I was really surprised. Loved Tulsa. I was actually able to make it out to a Power Eye national event that was out there going on the same time that I was stationed out there. So that was a lot of fun getting to be a fan for a little bit and watch some of those drivers. So I really loved that area. But Eastern Idaho was just absolutely gorgeous. When I was there, the snow was just starting to melt off the mountains. And so I was over in Pocatello and Idaho Falls for about a month. That was absolutely beautiful. I really love Idaho.
So Port City Raceway, most likely the place you went and saw the Power Eye race.
Yes, sir. And that is a bucket list track from now on for me. I don't think I've ever watched racing that good in my life. I could not believe. I don't think that there was a single lap where somebody wasn't throwing a slide job on somebody. I mean, it had me on my feet the entire time. So I would love to get into a midget or a mini sprint. Unfortunately, my size, being 6'6", doesn't help me out too much with that. But you know what? A boy can dream. So someday I'd sure love to make it out there.
No doubt. No doubt. And that's a great point you bring up. I remember your dad, first time I saw him race was at Salem Indoor Speedway my first year in a micro sprint. Saw him go the midget route. For you, though, that wasn't the case. Was there any reason for that, or what kind of got you interested to get started with sprint cars?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So I unfortunately, I have a very loving mother, so much so that she loved me too much to let me get into a race car because it was too dangerous when I was a kid. So I wasn't able to even get into a car until I was over 18. So my first time ever in a race car really was when I was 19, and my dad, he had a second car that was really just his backup car that he was using, and made a decision he wanted. I had kind of been bugging him, and he finally decided to let me into it. And so that was kind of my start into racing. Unfortunately, I didn't get the childhood experience of going up through the karts and working my way up through mini sprints and midgets and any of that. I just kind of jumped in the sprint car for the first time and then just had to figure it out from there. So definitely thrown to the fire a little bit.
Well, that's a cool story. My mom was the same way, so don't feel like you're alone there. That's why I never raced. She did threaten my dad if I got into a race car, even if it was a go-kart. They were going to be divorced, and I wanted my parents to stay together, so I sacrificed my racing career for that. So
you're a good son.
Yeah. But no, that's a really cool deal because that's sort of, 25 years ago, that was the traditional route. Guys didn't get into a bigger car until they were 16, 18. I mean, you can even go further, in their 20s. Jack Hewitt, one of the all-time greats, didn't start until his 20s.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely it was definitely a learning curve at first, but I absolutely hate losing. And anyone who competes against their parents really hates losing to their parents. So my dad is about as competitive as it gets, and I think I'm just like him there. So watching him my first 5, 6, 7 races, go and lap me every race, definitely lit a fire under me. So it was trial by fire, but I was trying to drive as hard as I possibly could to really figure out how to find speed in the car. And after the first year, started to get pretty comfortable. We had our COVID year, which sucked. That definitely, we only had a few races in. And then the next year on my second full year, was able to pick up my first win. So I felt like I improved pretty quickly, which is great, which I think is all in part to having my dad as an amazing mentor, obviously winning as many championships as he had, getting born into this family is about as lucky as I can get, having a mentor like him. And Rich Gentis was my crew chief for a long period of time, and he really helped me develop as a driver. So just having good people around you, I mean, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be winning races or even near the front without those two guys.
Yes, and you come from a strong bloodline. Third generation driver, right?
Yep, third generation driver. My great uncle and grandpa both raced, and then got my dad into it. And when I was about a year old, I think he started driving. So my dad never got into a race car until he was actually in his 30s. So I got into a midget and ran pavement midgets for a long time, and I just grew up at the track like a lot of kids do, and knew someday I'd want to get into it. Dreamed consistently throughout school, daydreaming and stuff about winning races and being in the car. So right now I'm just living my dreams, which is awesome.
Well, I know I asked your dad this question a long time ago, why he's number 23. He's a big Michael Jordan fan. What's the story and the symbolism behind 48?
Yeah, so 48 was actually kind of a twofold story. So it was hard because growing up, 23 was always my favorite number, obviously, with my dad being number 23. So my first number was just 23C because it was his backup car, and that's what number was on there. We duct taped a C onto it, and that's what I was. After the first year, though, it was time for a new number, and my high school football number, which I sucked at high school football, so no, that didn't play too much into it, for being honest. But I was number 48 is what I was in high school. And as well as my grandpa, his first race car that he ever got was number 48. That was the number that came with the car. So kind of a tribute to him as well, kind of full circle for us.
That's a really cool story, and it's cool that you made it your own. And selfishly, I really appreciate that, because when you're announcing a non-wing race, it's hard enough as it is, and when there's identical cars, identical wrap schemes, it's like, holy cow! I gotta look for like a different helmet color or gloves or something to determine these two. But when they're running up front all the time, that makes it even more challenge.
Yeah, the last race that we had in Lebanon, my rookie year, I started, I want to say maybe third row outside. They just watered the top of the track, and I was pretty confident at just rolling it in that there'd be some grip up there, and that's where I wanted to run. And as we took the green flag, the two cars in front of me just dropped down in the middle of the track and just left the top wide open. So I went out there and just started ripping the top, and ended up actually taking the lead the first time, which was a big step for me. That was a big confidence booster to be able to jump ahead of Lindsey. Barney was leading the race at the time and was able to actually pass her as good as she is. Went about a lap, and then I smacked into the wall and broke a bunch of crap. But I led it for one lap, and I was really proud of myself for that. But she came in afterwards and was talking to her crew, and they came over and told me about this. As she goes, "Oh man, did you see Rob pass me and then he hit the wall?" And I went, well, that wasn't Rob, that was Chad. And she's like, "No way. There's no way that was Chad." We were driving identical cars. I mean, I couldn't tell the difference between our cars. So yeah, it was
your dad's car every now and then.
Yeah. So it was pretty funny to have, at that point it was like, all right, we need to get different cars. Now the drivers don't even know who they're racing against, whether it's me or my dad.
Wow. That's a really good story. So 2023 Wingless Sprint Series, they got 3 races left. They've got the Cascade Wingless Challenge at Southern Oregon Speedway in September. And the end of the month, I think the 23rd, Willamette Speedway in Lebanon. And I assume you're signed up, ready to go for those last 3 shows?
Yeah, we're finishing off the season. My dad's he's only missed a couple races, so he's in a big points battle with Jojo Battaglia and Ricky Ashley. The 3 of them are up there and real close to each other. So we'll be at all 3 of those, and yeah, really looking forward to the rest of the season for sure.
And that'll be it for the year. Gonna hit any stuff outside of the Northwest for 2023?
For myself, no, I don't foresee us doing much more. My survey job that ended June 15th restarts again in November, so I'll go back to that. But my dad is going to be running a few races with the Hunt Magneto series down in Northern California. We're going to Placerville here in a couple of weeks to run a 2-day show over there, and then he's maybe got one more November, October, somewhere in there. One of their last shows of the season. Was kind of looking at doing that. We've got a car that's parked in there, a family's house that's got a Hunt engine in it that he just built this season. So we'll be doing a little bit of California racing for him. That's where all of his family is. So it's cool to be able to go down there and race with everybody, kind of see the whole family.
Nice. And for you personally, moving beyond this season, Are there any certain goals you like to obtain? I mean, you mentioned you'd like to get in a micro and a midget and run Port City, but is there any sort of ambition to put a wing on, or maybe try and partake in Indiana Sprint Week or run some USAC CRA races? What do you have for short-term or long-term goals for your racing career?
Yeah, so with me just getting into my career, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a slow road from here for the next few years. I don't think I'll be racing quite as much as I have been able to in the past couple. But my plan is to be able to put together kind of my own team. And my dad and I have really pointed out Indiana Sprint Week as being kind of one of our top bucket list things to run. For me, a wing has always been on the agenda. He had ran some wing races when I was younger, and he just really fell in love with the wingless side. And obviously me driving his equipment, I don't do too much complaining on where he's taking me to drive or what I'm driving in. So, but I definitely would love to hop in a wing car. We would need a crew chief or something to help us set the car up. We don't have too much experience on that side, but as quickly as I can, I'd love to jump into a wing car. The money on the wing side is huge. And I always joke with him that if we were as good at wing racing as we are wingless racing, we might be actually making some pretty decent money. But we just love the wingless side of stuff. I mean, I love it so much. But yeah, definitely want to give wing a try. See what it's like to be able to go that fast in the corner would definitely be a blast.
I know that it takes a whole team to make things happen, even a limited schedule that you run. You mentioned your family has been a great amount of help. I'd like to give you the floor to thank them or any sponsors that have made 2023 possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So my grandpa and my aunt come up for almost every race. They live down. My grandpa lives in Danville, California, in the East Bay. So he flies up for pretty much every single race that we run to help out. I mean, that is math that we legitimately would not be able to run this season without him doing that. And my aunt lives in Sacramento. She comes up for 90% of them as well. Those two, I mean, without them, we really just wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you to both my Auntie Chris and my Grandpa Joe for coming to that. I have a really supportive family on both sides. And so my Nana and Papa on my mom's side, they come out to almost everything. I mean, I've got so much family that just comes and supports this. And that's really why we race. So just thank you to all of them for sure. And my Uncle Craig this year has come on board and helped sponsor us for some fuel, and it's been tremendously helpful with the costs rising around the whole sport. And so we've actually put my Uncle Bruce, who passed away about a year ago. We put his name on both of our cars, and we've been running with him for about the last half of the season. And so it's been really cool to run his name on the car and see the whole family come together under him. So that's been amazing. But without my dad, this really wouldn't be. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to ever get into a car. So the biggest thank you goes out to him. Without him believing in me, I mean, I can't thank him enough. So looking forward to definitely the rest of the season and a whole life of racing.
And as far as updates or news releases of if there's perhaps maybe a impromptu last-minute scheduling of an event that you guys are going to or any merchandise, is there a good website or a social media page for you guys right now?
Yes, you can follow us on R&R Motorsports on Facebook. That's where we kind of keep everything updated on. Both my dad and I, Chad Lindsey and Rob Lindsey, also have our own Facebook pages. You can find me Chad_Lindsey on Instagram if you like that. That's where I kind of update everything on there. But R&R Motorsports would be the place to go for that. And we're hoping to start putting some merchandise out maybe end of this year or start early next year and start selling some T-shirts. So.
Well, that's super cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of 2023 goes and checking in with you soon of what new adventures of some new places that you've got to fly to.
Yeah. I with the survey job, I'm sure they'll be sending me out in the middle of nowhere. It sounds like the easy start down the south. I kind of joined mid-season last year, so I know a bunch of guys were in Arkansas and Alabama to start the season. So that's probably my first stop, and then kind of work your way west from there. So it should be kind of a fun year. No big plans quite yet as far as where I'm going and flying to, but I think that's kind of the fun of the adventure. I don't really know where I'm going to be, but exciting nonetheless.
Well, again, congratulations on winning the Hurst Precision Parts Non-Wing Nationals. Only a couple of people have been able to do that in its illustrious career, and you're the latest to etch their name in the history of that great event.
Yeah, thank you so much, and really big shout out to Mark Hurst for putting on. You know, he put so much money and energy into sprint car racing in the Northwest, and he doesn't get the thanks that he deserves for that. So, thank you to Mark. It is awesome what he's been able to do for us.
Well, that is going to do it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure and hit the like and subscribe button on whatever platform you found this interview at. It really helps us grow the channel, and we greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, we'll be back with more content and interviews in the future. Be sure and have a great evening or a great rest of your day, whatever time you're listening.